Good morning to all of you. First of all, I welcome all of you to this first lecture on computational mathematics with Sage Math. In this lecture, we will start exploring basics of Python. A basic knowledge in Python will help us to use Sage Math more effectively, and we can create our own programs in Sage Math. I hope all of you have managed to install Anaconda environment in your system, or at least you have figured it out how to use it online. So, let us get started. First of all, let us start Jupyter Notebook. As I said, we will be using Jupyter Notebook to write Python programs and execute. Not only that, Sage Math will also be used through Jupyter Notebooks. So, how do we start Jupyter Notebooks? There are different ways of starting Jupyter Notebook. One way is to open Anaconda Navigator and then launch Jupyter Notebook from there. Another way is to open Anaconda prompt. So, let us go to search window and type Anaconda notebook, Anaconda prompt. This is Anaconda prompt. Let us click on this and then type Jupyter Jupyter space notebook and hit enter. Once you enter, it may take few seconds to start the notebook. Now, this Jupyter server will start in a browser, and this is what you see here, local host. So, it has created a local host, and these are the folders and files. In case you have some files here, it will be coming at the bottom. Now, in order to start Jupyter Notebook, let us go to new, click on new and then click on Python 3. So, then Jupyter Notebook will start in a new tab. Let me disable this table of contents for the time being. So, this is what you see as a Jupyter Notebook, and this particular cell which you see here, that is a input cell. This is where all the inputs, syntax, comments, etc. will be given. Now, if you look at this Jupyter Notebook, you have file menus and you also have menu toolbars. So, we will be using some of these things. Of course, there are shortcuts for each of these things. So, for example, when you want to type anything in this Jupyter Notebook, there are two modes in this. One is edit mode and other one is command mode. So, at present we are in edit mode. Now, this notebook can, as I said, it can contain Python codes, Python syntax, and it can also contain some text, comments. It could be result, it could be proof of some result, anything we can type here, and it can also have the figures and things like that. Advantage of using Jupyter Notebook is that you can have everything in this notebook itself. The statement of a result, in case you want to prove, you can insert here, and also Python codes along with its output. I am sure many of you might have already seen several blogs in which they have used Jupyter Notebook in order to do some computations along with the explanations. Okay. So, now let us get started. Suppose we want to type anything in this cell. So, we can convert this cell into command mode or code mode, and you can convert this into what is called markdown mode. So, for example, if you click on this, you can select code mode or you can select markdown. So, suppose we want to, let us say, type a heading for this particular notebook. So, how do I give heading? Instead of code, you select markdown and then type one hashtag and then space, and let us say we will call introduction to Python. And then in order to execute this, you can click on this run toolbar, or you can press shift and then enter, shift and enter both together. Suppose we want to create another so this is a heading, we want to create a subheading. In that case, again we will select markdown, and this time instead of one hash we will put two hashtags and then space, and then let us say we want to explore mathematical operations in Python. So, let us say mathematical operations like how to add, how to multiply, how to divide, how to raise powers, etc. So, we will say mathematical operations. So, this you can see here by default it converts into 1.1. So, this heading is 1 and then this is subheading. You can think of as sections, subsections and things like that. Of course, you might not see this number 1.1 that I am able to see this because I have enabled what is called this table of content options. At some point I will also tell you how to do this. Okay. So, now let us see, suppose we want to say print hello world. So, how do I do that? You can simply say print in the bracket, use single quote and then say hello world exclamation sign, okay, and then execute this. In order to execute this, we will use shift and enter. Okay. Instead of using single quote, instead of using double quote, you can also use single quote. So, you can just highlight this particular code, copy, that is Control C, and paste, that is Control V, or you could use, this is to cut the cell selected cells, this is to copy, this is to paste. So, these menu toolbars can also be used. Okay. So, now instead of double quote, if I use single quote, let us see what do we get. Sorry, single quote, end single quote. Yes, this is the same thing. Of course, here you need not even type print, even if you simply type, let us say hello world, then also you will get the output. Output is shown here. So, you can see here each cell has got input and output. It also has a number, and this number depends upon the order in which you execute. For example, if I go to the first one and execute, then it will have cell number 6. Yeah, that is correct, right. So, this is how you can print any let us say sentence, any word, any string. Okay. Now, let us say we want to add two numbers. So, let us take one number as, let us say 6,834 and another number is, let us say 57. So, if I add these two numbers, we can put plus in between and then execute, that is shift enter, you get the output 6891. Suppose if you want to multiply these two numbers, you can simply say 6834 into, that is star, and 57, you get this number. Okay. Next, suppose you want to divide 6,834 by 57, you put forward slash, then you get the decimal number. This, so 6,834 divided by 57 is 119.894736 and so on. If right. Now, suppose you want to find out quotient and remainder. See, in this case we have integer divided by integer, the output we are getting is a decimal number, a floating point number or a real number. But suppose we want the quotient and the remainder for this. How do I do that? So, instead of one forward slash, if you put double forward slashes, then you get quotient. So, let me execute this. How do I execute? Shift and enter. Okay. So, this is the quotient is 119, and in order to find the remainder you can use percentage in between. So, if I say percentage, it will give me remainder. Now, suppose I wanted to write some comment along with this cell, we can simply write here hash, and then we can say that this returns quotient, and similarly, and this I can say it returns the remainder, Okay. In between, if you want to add, suppose you wanted to add this as a comment between, let us say, input cell 9 and input cell 12, what you can do is you can insert a new cell anywhere. For example, if you go to insert, you have an option of insert cell above, that is above this input 9, or you can have insert cell below. So, let us click insert a cell below this, right. Now, in between, let us say we want to convert this into a comment box. So, then we will go to code and select markdown, and let us say we can say here quotient remainder, let us say calculations. Okay. Right. So, you can see here we can add comment between the two cells, or we can add comment inside a Python code, that is inside input cell, and that is using this comment syntax hash. Okay. Now, actually the better way to do these calculations, especially when you want to do the computations repeatedly, it is better to define these numbers in variables and do this computation. So, let us say I will define a is equal to 6834 and B is equal to 57. So, now we have defined A, which is equal to 6834, and B, which is equal to 75. I have written, let me put 57, and if I ask it to print what are A and B, you will see A and B are 6834 and 57. Right. Now, let us say we want to define what is Q is equal to A divided by B, that is the quotient, and R is equal to A percentage B. Okay. So, and please notice that in case you want to have more than one lines of commands in a single input cell, you should press enter, not shift enter. And then let us say we want to print what are Q and R, then we will get the Q is 119 and R is 51. Let us verify this division algorithm, which says that in case A is divided by B, and which gives you the quotient Q and R, then B times Q plus R, this should be equal to A. So, this is I am using here double equal to, this is logical equality. In this case, we are checking whether A is equal to BQ plus R, and the answer is true. In case when we write BQ plus R is equal to A, this means value of A is assigned to B into Q plus R, which is not proper in this case. We want to check whether A is equal to BQ plus R, right. So, this is how we can find quotient and remainder. Now, suppose we want to raise power of a number. So, how do I do that? In case we want to find power of a number, then we can say let us say for example, we want to find out 27 to the power 5. How do I write? So, you can say 27 double star 5. This will give you 27 to the power 5. So, power is given as double star. If I want to find 27 to the power, let us say instead of 5, suppose we want to find 50, again it will give you in no time. Suppose we want to find 27 to the power, let us say 500, still you will get very easily. Or suppose we want to find 27 to the power instead of 500, let us say 10,000. Again you can see here it gives you the power of 10,000 power of 27, and this has several digits. So, you can see here Python is quite powerful when it comes to handling a large digit. Okay. You can even find 27 to the power, let us say 1 lakh. 1 5. Okay. So, sorry, I found 27 star. So, double star 1 lakh. This will take little longer, but you will get the answer. So, again you can see that it is able to find 27 to the power 1 lakh. Of course, you can increase the power, but of course, it has got limitations. So, do not try to find very large power. It may be able to compute, but it may take a lot of time. You may have to wait quite some time. Okay. So, this is how you can find to the power. Now, let us see whatever computations which we have done. We have done how to add two numbers, how to multiply two numbers, how to divide one number by another number, how to find quotient, how to find remainder, and how to find power of a number. Okay. Now, suppose if suppose you want to find, let us say not integer power, but a power of any number. So, for example, if I say 27 to the power, let us say 0.5, that is 27 square root, that also it will give you. So, you can find not only the integer power, but you can also find power, any real power. Okay. So, now let us look at, we want to do very basic computations involving all these operations. So, for example, let us say suppose you are investing some amount in a bank, and bank gives you interest, let us say 5.5%, and the interest can be simple interest or it can be compound interest. In both these cases, we want to find out what will be the return, let us say after 5 years. So, let us define variables. So, for example, a variable, the principal, I will call this as capital P, which is a principal. So, that is, let us say you have invested 20,000 rupees, and the rate I will call this as small r, that is, let us say 5.5%, and let us say you have invested this for t is equal to, let us say 4 years or 5 years, this is, and so let us say what is the amount that you are going to get when it is the bank is giving return with simple interest. So, let me call that as amount is amount 1, and this is calculated as the first we calculate the interest. So, that is P into R into T divided by 100. This is the interest, and you add this to principal, you will get the amount, and let us print what is the amount 1. So, that is the 25,500 is the return. Okay. Suppose now instead of simple interest, the bank gives you return with compound interest. Then what is the formula? The formula is let me call this as amount 2, and it will be P into 1 plus r by 100 to the power t. That is the formula for compound interest. So, that let us print what happens to print amount 2. This is, so in this case the amount that you get when the interest is calculated using compound interest is 26,139.200 and so on. Okay. Right. So, and suppose the interest is calculated 3 times in a year, then you can use the appropriate formula and compute the return. Okay. Now, suppose see for example, this 25,500 is returned when bank gives you this interest, the simple interest, and so we want to print the output which says that the amount, or let us say the returned amount after so many years and with so much interest rate is so much. Okay. So, for example, let us say we want to say print something like this, the return with simple interest at 5.5% after let us say 5 years is 25500. This is what we want to print. So, how do I write that? So, this can be achieved by so this is can be achieved by print statement, but we have to say print and then F string formatted print we will use, which was introduced just recently in Python. So, we will put single quote or double quote return with simple interest at 5.5%. So, this is the rate. So, you write here R and after 5 years. So, this is the number of year T and this is you replace this by amount. So, inside the curly bracket you write amount 1. Okay. If you want you can put here rupees this and then end single quote and then end the bracket. Okay. So, amount 1. So, I think A is capital. So, this is A, right. So, this is what you get. Similarly, if I want to print the compound interest, I will simply say this is simple, instead of simple interest we will say compound interest, compound interest, this will be amount 2. Okay. So, you get this number. If you want to print only let us say 4 digits or 5 digits or 6 digits, that option is also there in this formatted print statement. So, you can see here, let us say put colon and then let us say put 6 F, then you will get only 6 decimal places. If you put colon dot let us say 8, then it will print only the 8 significant decimal 8 significant digits. So, if you want let us say 10 significant digits, you put here 10. Okay. So, this formatted F print statement is quite useful. Using this you can print text along with the name of the variables. Okay. So, let us see if I want to do other calculations, like if you want to use Python as an advanced calculator, advanced scientific calculator, we may have to use let us say finding square root, trigonometrical functions, logarithmic functions, etc. This we will explore in the next class. For the time being, now let us look at whatever we have done. Suppose we want to save this in a file. So, we can go to file and then we can say save as, and give the file name. So, let me give file name as Python lecture 1 point let us say 1-1 and then save. By default you can see here that it has put an extension .ipnb. This is interactive Python notebook format, but you can also save this in various other format, like you can download this in HTML format, you can download this in standard Python extension, that is .py format. So, all these options are there. If you download this in HTML format, you can open this in a web browser, and that you can put it online or put it in GitHub. Okay. So, thank you very much. In the next lecture, we will see how to make use of other scientific functions and do scientific calculations with Python. Thank you.